Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the course of Survey of Major English-Speaking Countries. This lecture is about the general introduction of Canada, Part 3. Canada is home to around 38 million people. But where do they all live? In this lecture, we are going to explore some of Canada's major cities and see how they uniquely tell us something about Canadian society and culture. According to a funny folk tradition, the name Canada actually dates back to the early Spanish explorations of North America. The story goes that Spanish explorers were asked to report on what was north of what is now the American West. Their response, "A Canada," which means nothing up there in Spanish. Of course, the roughly 38 million people who call Canada home would beg to differ. They know that Canada has lots to offer. It's just covered in snow for a good portion of the year. Let's take a little tour of the Great White North and see just what's up there. Actually, Canada is one of the world's wealthiest nations, and the majority of its citizens will enjoy a relatively high quality of life by world standards. Canada is renowned for the wealth of its natural resources. Vast forests, fresh water for hydroelectricity, enormous amount of fuel, the oil, gas, coal, and uranium for nuclear power, and these are very important source of Canadian wealth. Besides, Canada also has the world's richest mineral deposit. Manufacturing and fishing are also important economic activities in the country. Let's start with Ontario, the most populous land of Canada's 13 provinces and territories. This is also one of Canada's most urbanized provinces, although its top population centers are almost exclusively found along the southern border. Actually, the largest cities in almost every province tend to be found along Canada's southern border, which is more temperate than the far north. But in Ontario's case, this is especially significant, considering that this border is the Great Lakes. Ontario is therefore one of Canada's eldest and most prosperous provinces as well. There are two major cities of note in Ontario. First is Toronto, the most populous city in Canada with around 5.9 million residents. Toronto is sort of the Manhattan of Canada, home to highly modern urban culture, numerous corporate businesses, and one of the world's largest stock exchanges. Toronto is also the capital of Ontario, but it's not the only capital in the province. It is the largest city in the country, with an area of about 630 square kilometers. Toronto is one of the most multicultural cities in the world. More than 3 million people from about 80 different ethnic backgrounds call this home. Toronto also has the distinction of being Canada's financial and commercial center. As the capital of Canada's most populous province, the city has a widely diversified economy. Ontario produces more than half of Canada's manufactured goods and most of its manufactured exports. It has immense resources of raw materials, minerals, timber, water, and agricultural products. Its location on the northwestern shore of Lake Ontario, which forms part of the border between Canada and the United States, and its access to the Atlantic shipping via the St. Lawrence Seaway, and to other major industrial centers via the Great Lakes, have enabled Toronto to become an important international trading center. Moreover, the city is positioned on the edge of some of the best farmland in Canada, with a climate favorable to grow a wide range of crops, thereby making Toronto a transportation, distribution, and a manufacturing center. Since the second half of the 20th century, the city has grown phenomenally from a rather sedate provincial town to a lively, thriving metropolitan area. Ontario is also home to Ottawa, the capital city of Canada. Combined with the greater metropolitan area built around it, Ottawa's population is around 1.3 million. Ottawa is the fourth largest city in the country. Unlike the capital cities of many other Western countries, there is no federal capital district in Canada. Ottawa is actually a municipality within the province of Ontario. Ottawa has a reputation as one of the technological centers of Canada, with numerous tech companies located there. A large number of jobs are also provided by the technology sector. A number of telecommunications, software, defense and security, biotechnology, and wireless companies are located in the capital region. Many commercial and financial associations, as well as embassies and trade groups, have their headquarters or offices in the city. As the national capital, it is also the site of federal government institutions, such as the Bank of Canada, the Royal Canadian Mint, the Supreme Court of Canada, and the Queen's Printer. The Rideau Canal remains a functional canal, though it is used mainly by pleasure craft. It was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2007 in recognition of its unique design and historical significance. In winter, the canal freezes and it becomes the Rideau Canal Skateway, the world's longest skating rink. Skating on the canal is a highlight of Ottawa's Winterlude on each February. A winter-themed celebration presented annually since 1979. Featuring winter sports, music, and snow sculpting, it attracts hundreds of thousands of visitors each year. Other popular annual festivals are Canada Day on July the 1st and the Canadian Tulip Festival on May, a celebration organized by the royal family of the Netherlands, who took refuge in Ottawa during the Second World War and afterwards presented the city with the gift of 100,000 tulip bulbs. From Ontario, let's take a quick hop over to Quebec. Quebec is the second most populous Canadian province, and it is the cultural capital for French-Canadian heritage. While French is spoken in many provinces, Quebec is the only one to recognize French as its sole official language. The capital of Quebec is Quebec City, with a population of roughly 800,000. Like other major Canadian cities, it is located along the nation's southern border and participates in global trading, finance, and industry. Perhaps the most famous city in Quebec, however, is Montreal, with a population of barely under 4 million. Montreal is one of the most important cultural centers in Canada. French is the city's official language and was the home language of 61.2% of the population in 2016, while 26.4% spoke non-official language at home, and English was spoken by 23.1% of the inhabitants. The multicultural language responses were included in these figures. In the larger Montreal census metropolitan area, 71.2% of the population spoke at least French at home, compared to 19.0% who spoke English. Montreal is one of the most bilingual cities in Quebec and Canada, and it is the second largest primarily French-speaking city in the developed world, after Paris. Not only is it the epicenter of French-Canadian culture, it is also the home of Canada's street performance and aerobatic tradition, as well as one of the most progressive cities in Canada. Historically, the commercial capital of Canada, Montreal was surpassed in population and in economic strength by Toronto in the 1970s. It remains an important center of commerce, transport, finance, pharmaceuticals, technology, education, art, tourism, and culture. Montreal has hosted multiple international conferences and events, including the 1967 International and Universal Exposition and the 1976 Summer Olympics. It is the only Canadian city to have held the Summer Olympics. The city of Montreal is known for its openness to the world, as well as its economic dynamism and its thriving and diversified cultural life. Montreal is a city made unique by the people and groups from the four corners of the world that choose to call it home. A city where intercultural harmony rhymes. Both Ontario and Quebec are found on the eastern side of Canada. But Canada has major cities in the west as well. To see them, we will have to travel over to the province of British Columbia on the Pacific coast. British Columbia has long been involved in the same industry that turned Oregon and Washington into population centers, including logging, fishing, and shipping, and over time, major cities emerged. The largest city is Vancouver. It is located on the Pacific coast in southwestern British Columbia, covering 114 square kilometers, 44 square miles. It is the second smallest area of 8 major Canadian cities. The metropolitan area of 2,787 square kilometers is the third largest metropolitan area in Canada. Vancouver was incorporated in 1886 and named after Captain George Vancouver, who first sailed around Vancouver, exploring and charting Burrard Inlet and adjacent waters. Vancouver is known as one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Bordered by the Pacific Ocean and the coastal mountains to the east, the city is surrounded by shimmering waters and towering trees. With 44% of its population comprised of visible minorities, Vancouver is truly a multicultural city. It is home to Canada's largest Chinatown, its largest gay community, and boasts numerous ethnic neighborhoods, such as Little India and Little Italy. However, all Vancouver residents are called Vancouverites. In 1986, the city played host to the World Expo. Since then, tourism has grown considerably and now draws more than 5 million visitors to the region each year. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.